As a person who creates clothes for yourself, you get to the point where you're ready just to elevate the things that you create and add your personal stamp to the things that you make. It could be something as simple as changing up basic sleeves and adding some drama and, you know, just making them a bit more statement. So if you're ready to have a go at changing a very basic sleeve pattern into what I like to call melon sleeves with lots of drama down here and no elastic at the hem of the sleeve, then I'm ready. Let's go. Hello, my name's Juliet Uzor of SoSoNatural.com, and if you are someone who likes to create your own clothes and own your style, then this is the right channel for you. This channel, we like to work together to demystify the art of sewing. So first things first, you definitely will be needing a basic sleeve pattern, and these come in, you know, the sewing patterns that you purchase. However, if you would like a basic set, I have those on my website. I have a basic set of bodice front, bodice back, skirts front, skirts back, and a basic sleeve on my website. And this is what I use to create a lot of the clothes that you see on my Instagram, on my Facebook, and here on YouTube. So I'll leave the link to the basics set in the description box below in case you would like to go and grab one for yourself. You would also need plain paper. The plain paper is what we're going to use to transform this very basic pattern piece into voluminous sleeve designs. You need scissors, you need a sharp pencil, you need sellotape. So we're going to be doing a lot of cutting and sticking, and you need a ruler. You need a long ruler. You would also need a curved ruler. You also need to have all the basic things that you normally use for your sewing, because you don't want to be going back and forth. You just want to have everything to hand, so the process is a lot more seamless. Right, so we're going to jump right into the project. Start off by measuring how long you want the sleeves to be, and you also need to measure how wide the sleeves would be. Then go ahead and trace around the sleeve pattern. Do not forget to mark your notches. It's really important to mark the grain line of your pattern. Now what you need to do is mark out the seam allowance on your pattern. Go back to the pattern instructions and find out what the seam allowance around the sleeves is. So with this pattern, it's a 1-inch seam allowance for the sleeve. You can either use your ruler to do that or a tape measure, as you can see here in the video. At this point, we need to add 3.5 inches to the base of the sleeves. This part is really important because you want to have straight side seams and not side seams that are at an angle. So we're going down 3.5 inches on both sides and then draw straight lines. Now I'm transferring the notches down to that stitch line that we marked on, and we're going to cut it off. This is really, really important because when you do all the slashing and spreading, you want to make sure that you retain the stitch line and you keep things exactly as they should be. And after all the manipulation, we're going to draw back that seam allowance. Super, super important. You can see that I am measuring from one point of the sleeve to the other point, and then I'm going to split it into 4 parts. Now this, I'm going to mark along this line that I've drawn, and after marking out those parts, I'm going to divide it again into 2 parts again. So we're having the sleeve divided into 8 parts. Now we'll draw straight lines all the way from the top to the bottom, or the hem of the sleeve, and then we will go ahead to mark out exactly how long we want our sleeves to be. Earlier on in the video, I showed you myself measuring the mannequin, and that's the marking that I've just added there. So now we've got exactly how long the new sleeves are going to be. We're going to cut along those lines, and please do not cut away those parts. You just want to cut right to the very edge of the sleeve cap. Now we're going to move on to spreading the parts. When we spread them apart, it's completely up to you how wide you have them, but with mine I went quite dramatic. So mine are quite wide apart, and but this part is absolutely up to you, but you need to make sure that they're all spread apart evenly. That's the most important part. At this point, we're ready to trace out the new sleeves. I know it looks slightly strange, but do not worry, it still forms a really good sleeve. So trace around the sleeve, and I'm using a ruler just to make sure that I get straight lines. Again, do not forget those notches. Please mark them every step of the way. This part I am freestyling, but you can use a ruler, a curved ruler for this part. It's totally up to you, but the trick is to have the base of your palm, that part where you've got a joint, lean it on the table or on the mat, wherever you're working, and then move the rest of your hand around, and that would help you to create some sort of a curve. Freehand. So now, as you can see, I am gradually taking my time to fold over to create some pleats and get the pieces back the way they were. Now this is a secret to creating these sleeves. Those pleats get formed and then the lining gets attached to them, and that would avoid any type of gathering or using elastics for the puff of your sleeve. Okay, so what I've done here is I've marked out the middle of this very last part, because we've got to the center point and we need to just divide it into two parts and draw a straight line to enable us know where we're going to close the pleats. And there we have it. But it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. So what you need to do is just cut them out. When you cut them out, you then cut out the top, cut around the rest of the sleeves. But if you notice, after all that pleating, because I've opened up the parts quite wide, I have to mark where the pleats end in order to extend it, adding even more volume, but it's not a lot. Mark where the sleeves, so as you can see, I am marking where my pleats are going to form. So those are really important to be marked, because we're going to peel off those pieces that were sellotaped onto the paper. Grain line marked, which is the center of the sleeve. So at this point, it's really important for you to note that if you want to have gathers at the sleeve cap, like in this project here with the green dress, you would need to do something slightly different. But if you want yours to just be straight lines and without any gathers, look at this one, I have no gathers on this sleeve here, then you can leave it as it is right now. But if you want to add some gathers, then we're going to have a look at this step. In order to get a bit of a gathered effect, you need to extend the center line, that grain line, by 2 inches. When you draw that 2 inches, you then need to create a curve that would naturally join the rest of the sleeve. That's why a curved ruler is really important for this technique. at this point, we're going to add seam allowance back to the pattern. Because this puff sleeve does not have any type of elastic, we need to create a lining that would go on the inside to help keep those gathers or pleats together. So at this point, we need to go back to our original pattern and make sure that what we're going to draw out will be 4 inches less than the original one. So here I have a sleeve that I've traced out, which is 4 inches shorter than the big sleeves that we've just created earlier. Marking the notches is so important because that would tell us where to stop and start with our gathering. And as you can see, I've gone for a much lighter fabric as the lining that would go on the inside, and this is what would help keep our pleats together and avoid any use of elastic. Notches are also important to tell us where things need to go when we start to join our main fabric and our lining pieces. So now we're back to the main fabric and we are pleating it up, remembering all the markings that we made on our pattern piece. This part is really important to make sure that we have things all aligned. However, if we cast our minds back to the beginning where we added 3.5 inches to both sides of our sleeve pattern to make straight lines before we did all the cutting and slashing, well, that's going to affect the lining piece. So you have 2 options. Either make the lining piece a bit wider down the hem so that it would accommodate the pleats, or you can make the pleats a lot more tighter, as you can see here. So look at my pleats now. What I did was I made them a bit closer to each other so that they would accommodate the lining piece. So now I am joining the side seams of my main fabric and I have the lining here. I'm going to sew along the side seams of them, and when I sew the side seams, I will then join the hems of both pieces together to create that bubble effect. The parts that need to match here are the side seams. When you have the side seams matching together, then you can just pin around the main fabric and the lining fabric, and that's how you're going to secure both of them. And as you can see, we have the puff effect without elastics. From this point, you can see that the lining is much shorter than the main fabric, and that allows the main fabric to just hang nicely and create a bubble. What I like to do is I like to just pin the main fabric to the lining to avoid any kind of movement or shifting, especially considering that with this sleeve here, I gathered the sleeve cap from one notch to the other notch. After all that gathering, I then pinned on the lining fabric onto the main fabric and pinned onto the armhole of my dress. And when I finished sewing it, I overlocked it. You can use whatever method that works nicely for you. And that's how I was able to create this bubble effect on my sleeves, and I love to call it melon sleeves. I'm sure it's a name. Let me know in the comment section what name we should give these. I think melon's good. Melon, it gives like a melon effect. Yeah, I love it. I am currently working on a project where I am going to compile everything I know about statement sleeves, and it would be all compiled into one course off the YouTube platform where you can go back and forth with lots of course material so that you can learn how to transform basic sleeves into a range of statement sleeves. If that sounds like something you are interested in, then I'm really excited because I think you're going to like it. I would really appreciate if you can register your interest by following the link in the description box below. You would have lots of course material and you'll be able to go back and forth, rewind, pause, and all of that as you wish, and you'd have unlimited access to the course as well. So I really appreciate you coming along to learn how to change basic sleeves into melon sleeves with me today. I have a video here on the screen sharing all my sewing pattern hacking secrets, and I really would love to see you over at that video. So enjoy the rest of your day, and all the very best. Take care. Bye.